My name is Fazil. I'm from Guyana, South America. I live in New York City, USA, and I'm doing this video in Brazil. I was with God Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, in heaven. I was resurrected because I knew I was resurrected because when I went up to heaven, I had sand on my clothes. I had on a shirt, a pants, and a hat. I went to heaven. Heaven is not a fancy place. It's like the secret place of the Most High God. It's like a lobby of an office building. God, there's a glass door. I opened it opened and I went in and I sit. God was on the left-hand side. He was working. He's always working. And he put something on my head. It's like a rabbit ears. And he would communicate with me telepathically. And God had the most gentle voice. I spent so long in heaven. So long, very long time. But the devil have access to heaven. He don't go himself, but he send his cronies, his demons, and they lurk in the corners of heaven. God is so busy, God. He's controlling everything on earth, the ocean, the wind, everything. So I was in heaven, and one day I was tempted. I was innocent in heaven. Me and God would communicate all the time, and I would go back in the passageway. I don't know where to sleep, but God don't sleep. He'd be working all the time. He'd be doing whatever, controlling the angels, but I was there in a secret place. So one day, I was tempted. I told God, I don't know how long I'm up here. And God was astonished. He said, how long he is up here. But I think God forget. But he didn't. I told him I want to go to earth. And one day God said, he found a family for me. He didn't forget. I never asked him for anything. I stayed so long in heaven. I never asked God for nothing, so that's the first thing I asked him. And it was temptation I had. And in heaven, I would be just like this. I would sit, I would feel my hands, I would feel my hair, my eyes, my nose, but I'm not of flesh, I'm of spirit. And in heaven, you don't feel pain, you don't hunger, and it's a light all the time, no darkness. So, yeah, one day God told me he found the family for me. So he asked me, first, before that he said, what kind of family you want? When he said good, I said no, opposite. Rich, opposite. Religious, opposite. And so he found the family for me. So I was to come to earth. But before I knew I was coming to earth, I said before, I was tempted again. I said, I want to see heaven before I come to earth. So one day I went out, and there's a door, that's heaven door. It's like a ship door, but it's like bronze, those ship iron door. I went through that, and I found a seat. I found a place, and I sit. And there was an angel, the first time I really see an angel. And this angel does not have wings, it was a male. He just moved fast, and he come in front of me. He asked me, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm a tourist." I don't know where I get that idea from. But the devil have something out of heaven that he dwells, or his cronies and the people who work for him dwell, these demons. And before that, I see like these dark shadows come over me. Anyway, and then I went to get myself back, and I tried to go back in through heaven's door to heaven. I end up back in heaven. I don't know how the door opened, but it was open for me. And I went and sit with God. Sit where I used to sit. God sit on the left-hand side. And he's always busy. And every time I come, he put that thing over my head, and I will communicate with him telepathically. He never called me my name. I always call him God. So I don't know who I am, but I knew I was on earth. I didn't remember anything when I was on earth. I don't remember my family, my friends, but all I know, I want to do something good for earth. Anyway, God told me he found the family, and I was supposed to come to earth. And he asked me if God could have made me come down like a light, from the sky to earth, but I told him I wanted to be born. Yes. So before I come to earth, there's some chairs, like plastic chairs in heaven. And I was going to sit on one that God came down. God could be up there, and he could be down here at the same time, at two different persons. So he told me, before that, I go to sit on the tree. He said, "No, don't sit on that chair. Sit over here." I sit, and he was talking to me. And then he told me, "Sit on the other chair." And when he sit on the other chair, then when I leave heaven, I came to earth. I was a kid. I was born. But God, before that, God came down, and he was in front of me like this, before I come to heaven. And I was supposed to stare in his eyes. He showed me his face. God he's clean shaved, and he's fatted like this, and he have a little stomach because he sit all the time. And he could be two image. One time he's clean shaved. The time that he showed me his face, he had beard, and he looked a little Middle Eastern. The other time I see him, he was white. And the other time I see him with beard, he was Middle Eastern looking, and I think that's the main God. So when I was to look in his eyes, something told me, don't stare in his eyes. I'm going to get blind. That was temptation again. And I look away. When I was born, after I was a kid, I used to live in Guyana. There was a a school and a pipe. We didn't have water in our house, so I would leave the house and go by the pipe to take a bath. And when I go there, I see the devil, Satan. He was moving. He's like something like this. He moving on, but you will see image of a snake, but he moves on that. And one day I told him, Satan, go away. And he knew I was seeing, and he just disappeared. Anyway, I leave. I didn't see him for a while, but when we moved from Golden Grove to a place named Elmore, and when we moved there, we was living in a small house, 6 of us. Oh, one thing before that. Before I came to earth, God told me I'm gonna rob somebody of something when I'm coming to earth. And I said, no, I want to go. I don't mind if I rob somebody something. And I think I robbed my brother of his ears. So when we moved from Golden Grove to Enmore, I was by the dam, and I could see God, because in the sky I could see him looking down on me one day. And I said, God, make my brother hear. He's deaf. And God said, he can't do that, because God have order. He have order. He just want to do things. He don't go back on his word. Anyway, I was a kid. And one day I say, who is God? I raise up my hand and say, who is God? And God heard me, and God, I see him again. And he say, go find a church. I said, God, I'm a Muslim. He said, no, go find a church. God wanted me to become a Christian, and he wanted me to go to church. So from the age of 15, I started going to church. I go different places. Sometimes I go Hindu temple. As a kid, I go to church. I started going to church. Anyway, I reached my wife, my wife. I was in Guyana, and one day I was walking, going behind her, and something told me, don't follow her. The first time I really hear a voice like an angel was telling me. Anyway, I leave Guyana and I went to New York. And I was illegal in New York. I overstayed my visa. And I had two kids, a boy and a girl. One time we went to Florida, and I was coming back. Me and my wife had a problem. She left me, and she took a bus, and she was coming. I was driving alone, the bus with the 2 kids. And when I was driving alone, I was so tired, and I was at Maryland, that's in the USA, and I came out on a rest stop, and I was acting direction. I had an incident with some 2-3 person there, and they parked their vehicle, and I was pulling out, the guy backed up and hit me. I was not wrong, but the police came and they locked me up. And I could swear the cell they put me in, that was hell. The first cell. And it was hell. I was alive in hell. And hell is like haunted. I didn't see fire. I see one person walking with like he's born, like fires in his body, but hell is haunted. It's like a burial ground with tombs, a few tombs, and they have. So I lay down. I'm alive and in hell. I lay down and I heard so much voice shouting. Nice. Then I stood up. Anyway, the devil had a plan to get back to God through me. So I was in hell, and I didn't want to. Before I leave heaven, mine told me to tell God, if something happened to me, don't come to earth. But I was in hell, and I was probably tempted there, and I go down one knee and say, "Oh God, help me!" in a loud voice, and it's like you read in the Bible, the earth start tremble. No, trumpet song, earth tremble, lightning flashes, the sky parted, and God was coming down. And he come over hell. He was over hell. He moved on a thing like this too. And the devil and he come over hell, and the devil was there over hell. And he told me just he heard my voice, he came down. And I said to God, God, since you came down, who's looking after things up? He said, don't worry about that. But when one time I was in heaven, and I told God, before I came down, I said, God, he asked me, you want to go to earth? What about the devil? I said, I defeat the devil, and I will defeat him again. So that was temptation. I didn't remember anything, but so the devil was there and God was there. God was over and over hell, and the devil was in hell. So God told me, I know you like New York. If you want, I carry you back to New York. I said, no, God. I couldn't say yes. My tongue was tied. I couldn't say yes. I was in hell. So God asked me a whole lot of questions. I said no to everyone. If I had said yes, I think the devil would be outcast from the world. But God said I regret that, because I said no. And then I was in hell, and God, then I moved, my body was in hell, and then I moved up to heaven's door, and God was there. I was sitting here, and the devil was on a like escape, and God asked me question. I say, and I was looking down. Heaven is here, and hell is right below. I could see hell, like a shadow, a house, a shadow of a house. So I sit and I went down. My spirit went back down to my body, and then I was in hell again. And God went away, the devil went away, and then I was like sleepy. I sleep. The next day, they opened the gate. There was a gate, the hell gate. It's a big chain and a lock. That was the prison cell. And they moved me out of that cell and they put me in a cell with light. A light, bright lights, like more brighter than what I'm in. Anyway, I went through the court and they sent me back to Guyana. And when I came back to Guyana, one day I was in my wife's family room, and I wasn't feeling good. I was depressed because, not because I got sent back to Guyana, it's because I let down God. I can't have words to explain. I let him down. So I was depressed because God is so good, he's so great. He made everything. The devil can't make nothing. His instinct is to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's his instinct. And so, yes, I was in Guyana, and the devil, one time I was in New York, and the devil, I could see the devil, he set trap. You know, I was driving, and I pick up a woman from the psychic from on, I think it's 47th, 49th Street. And this woman is like, she come out of her grave. And from that day, I never went right. And one day they was tracking me when I was driving, because they could hear where I have a number. I was driving black car, and they use a woman to mess with me, you know. But yeah, when I was in Guyana, I tried to commit suicide, and I jumped. I go on a bench, and there was a voice said, jump. And then I wouldn't want to jump. I took a belt and put it around my neck, and I jumped. The devil said, jump. And the devil is too strong for me. It's only I pray every night. I pray to God to protect me from the devil. Yeah, so God is real. He looked like us, and he loves me, but I displeased him, and I hope he forgive me my sins. So one day I could be back in heaven, and everyone that watches video would share it with their friends and family, and share it so everybody in this world could see the video. I'm speaking the truth, so help me God. If I'm speaking lie, let me drop me dead right now. I'm a God-fearing person. I'm a child of God, and I love God dearly, more than myself, more than my children, more than my parents died, more than my parents, more than brother and sister, more than everybody else. I love God because he created us. He's the one that created us. No doubt, he created the universe. I see it with my own eyes. When I was a kid, I was tempted that who made God? God created. God is creation, created move to this high level, superiority, that he created everything, and he's displeased with us, what we're doing on earth. Because when I was to come to earth, I asked, when I told him I want to come to earth, he said, that place with resentment, not pleased with the way we live. Devil, he asked, he told me, when you go on earth, if I'm not afraid of you, but I told him I defeated them. Devil stronger than me, and I cannot fight the devil alone. Only with God I can fight the devil. The devil is afraid of God. See the devil face to face. See God face to face. Only person that lives 6 years now. Keep the secret for over 20 years. I tell people, people who don't believe in God, who don't go to church, and they think what I'm saying, I make it up. But all the scholars that study the Bible, I went to the foot of the earth, see the creation, what God did. The creator, scientist, everything, create this world. I'll tell you what I see. This was not supposed to be on the foot of it. Everybody turn to God, pray to God for protection from the devil, and stop doing the wrong things, because God always gives a second chance. Give me a second chance. I almost died. The devil wanted me to dead. So I can speak to you, or have the sense to speak to you and tell you about the goodness of God and who is God. And he looks like God. See him face to face. He is the most kind. Don't do no pain. That is not him. That is me. And the devil can't rule the world. He can't. He cannot create anything. The devil have followers. People who follow him. Trust me. Because when I had the problem the first time, the devil followers were tracking me. And we might not dare everywhere. You got to believe in God. God is in heaven. The devil is on earth. So you have to be careful. Thank you. I enjoyed this. Plan to make more video. I put it up on my. Thank you.